Missouri State is traveling to Kennesaw State, and the CUSA is absolutely it's going nuts right now. The top four teams in this conference, the Jax State, Missouri State, Western Kentucky, Kennesaw State. I mean, it's a gauntlet at the top right there. You got some way better teams than people believe, or what people will have you believe about this conference. Obviously, lower third of this conference is not particularly great, but games like this is why you tune into the CUSA. Okay, you got an absolute interesting style of play clash right here. And you got, Missouri State, their first year in FBS football, and they're 7-3 right now. And Jacob Clark is looking like the best quarterback in the conference by, in my opinion, a pretty decent margin. Then you got Kennesaw State with a first-year head coach. They're only second year in FBS level as well, and they're playing really well, and they're running the football, and they're finding ways to do it with two quarterbacks, and they're playing great defense. Like, there's a lot to like about both of these teams. And I think you look at some jobs that may open up from some dominoes, right? I think that these two coaches could be brought up in some conversations. I don't know that either one's going to be leaving anytime soon for either of these teams, but I think that there could be some conversations had in the coaching carousel when you see a bunch of coaches get plucked from here and here, dominoes start to fall. Oh, who's going where? It could get interesting in that regard. But CD, what do you like about this game?
Yeah, that's where I started too. Was the coaching matchup there, Ryan Beard and Jerry Mack. We talked about Jerry Mack in this offseason, of course, being a first-time coach. We did our coaching carousel video, our deep dive on the Jerry Mack, the staff he was bringing in, all that stuff. We talked about like his expectations. Our expectations for him and his program was to compete for bowl games. Check. You're 7-3 right now. Yeah, that is awesome in year one. Has it been pretty all year? Yeah, you had some close wins for sure. You took ugly losses. I get that. But you know what? You are right there competing for a spot in the CUSA, championship game, of course. Going to a bowl game and then some with opportunities to add on to that, which is awesome. And of course, for Ryan Beard, Missouri State, son-in-law of Bobby Petrino, bro. Son-in-law of Bobby P. We love that there. Of course, Ryan Beard succeeded him as Missouri State's head coach in 2023. The offense coordinator, of course, is Nick Petrino, the son of Bobby as well. A lot of fun stuff there that's going on down there in Georgia this weekend. It'll be a lot of fun. And, of course, you talked about Jake Clark. Got a couple quarterbacks for Kennesaw State. Obviously, last week they struggled. Amari Odom, Dexter Williams, neither of them was very good. Williams probably a little bit better, but the reality was Jacksonville State just cooked them. The entire time there. And what needs to happen here for Kennesaw State defensively, they got to be better. They got to be better than that. They've been pretty good this year defensively, and they got gashed against Jacksonville State. Of course, that the turnovers didn't help at all. But with this Missouri State offense there, Ryan Beard, Petrino there, Jacob Clark, you talked about, they got Shamari Lawrence offensively on the running game. You got a couple different receivers. They spread the ball around. Credit to Jacob Clark and this offense staff. They've had 6 different people lead them in receiving yards this year. 6 different. In every single conference game they've had a new leading receiver. That is freaking awesome. Missouri State also has played a ton of close one-score games. They are 5-1 in those games. Hats off to the coaching staff for that. That's the difference in this kind of conference here. I'm looking at the standings right now in the CUSA. Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State, Missouri State, all with 1 or 0 losses. That's awesome. Some new blood in the FBS here, having success early on. The one question I do have, which I probably should have looked into, does Missouri State qualify for the CUSA championship?
I'm not really sure 100% on that one. However, I'm going to look at, you talked about their wide receiver group and just how not only do they have different options at that wide receiver spot, they're so incredibly versatile. All right, you got the Dash Lukes, right? The short speedster guys. You got Johnson, who can play inside, he can play outside. You got the big-bodied youngster freshman who's been an absolute monster for you. It really is nice. You hear Jerry Mack talk about this group as well, and absolute high praise. There should be the highest of praise for Jacob Clark and his set of receivers that he's put in great positions so far this year. And Robinson, too. I mean, another guy who's can play inside or outside. I look at this and I think that there's some really specific things that you got to look at in this game that I think are going to be key differences. All right, Gabriel Benyard, right? The slot wide receiver, running back, converted wide receiver for Kennesaw State. I think it's going to be huge in this game. How do you shut him down? I I don't know that they will. The secondary has had trouble, tackling stuff, and Gabriel Benyard, absolutely great after the catch. Obviously, we know he could break tackles as a former running back. He's been really good. Is he going to be a problem for Dylan Dixon on the other side there, Missouri State? I happen to think so. I think that could be a real problem, this rushing attack. Of course, is Missouri State ready to stop that? What Kennesaw State's going to bring, this physicality. However, if you look at the Missouri State side, or defensively, I mean, for Kennesaw State, there's two things going on here. Okay, Missouri State's offensive line is pretty not good. It's pretty not good. And Kennesaw State has some absolute dudes in the front seven. All right, you're probably going to have an all-conference linebacker. You're probably going to have 2 or 3 all-conference defensive linemen here, including Elijah Hill, who's your third down pass rushing specialist, who I imagine will absolutely have his leash come off, on those third downs because he got some tackles that have just not been very good. I mean, Abubadike Nabugu has the most penalties of any offensive lineman in this conference right now, playing left tackle for you. That's going to be a tough matchup on third downs for you. You've given up 39 sacks this year. And I'm not even going to say they're all, like, a lot of these are Jacob Clark's fault, and some of them will be for sure. But you get to a point and you watch some of the film, you're like, okay, yeah, there's some issues here with this offensive line. And this defensive line will absolutely take care of that. Tyler Dunlap has been an absolute monster from the interior. Marcus Patterson on the front. I mean, he'll probably be an all-conference player. Yeah, you have really good football players here in this front seven. However, your secondary has got this year. And Caleb Alford, trip to the hospital this past weekend. Hope he's all right, but I don't imagine him playing in this game. So you already have a secondary that's pretty shaky, and then you're down, one of your starting cornerbacks. Like, if you don't find a way to get pressure on Jacob Clark consistently, I think you're going to find yourself in a very troubling spot in this game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, I was not totally dialed into yours. I was trying to find out if they are postseason eligible. They are not. The worst
Brutal.
fucking rule, excuse my language, the worst rule in college
Don't
football.
excuse yourself.
Them, Delaware, are not eligible for the CUSA conference title, which I understand that can be, whatever the conferences can choose that. Not even eligible for a bowl game. Now, what can happen is, we've seen it in the past, if you do have teams that, if they're not enough 6-win teams, then they'll go down to our above 6 wins, not eligible teams, and then they'll go down to our 5-win teams with the APR or whatever and all that stuff. Of course, Akron not eligible in the APR. Had to bring that in there. But yeah, still makes this game so much more important because of what it means for Kennesaw too, right? And all that good stuff. So yeah, here we are in 2025, still trying to figure things out. But listen, what an awesome spot here for the CUSA. Happy for Jerry Mack too, and what their offense brings. It'll be interesting though. One thing I am kind of looking at too is the turnovers. Kennesaw doesn't force a ton of turnovers, man. Especially, and Jacob Clark, he's done a pretty good job, I think, taking care of the football in spots here. Of course, he's had his moments for sure, but I mean, the reality is, he's a guy I trust with the ball in his hands. 19 to 8 touchdown to interception ratio is good, not great, but it'll play. In a game like this here, taking care of the football, winning on third downs, things like that. If you're going on the road for Missouri State over to Kennesaw, those are things you're going to have. You cannot give them, freebies in that defense.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm still drawn back to the Missouri State keys to win this football game, protect Jacob Clark somehow. I don't know how you're going to do it against the defensive front. And then if you could just get the ball out quickly and take advantage of the secondary that's banged up, no Caleb Alford, like I said, it could get really interesting. I have Kennesaw State winning this game. I do not have them covering, though. I think Missouri State potentially keeps this close. I think backdoor cover is in play here. Maybe a 35-31, final minute touchdown by Missouri State. I think that's in play for sure. But I don't know that I trust Missouri State's defense, but I don't know that I completely trust Kennesaw State's defense in the secondary, despite my high praise for their front seven.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take. I'm kind of cop out here. I think it'll just be a close game. I think that's like unfortunate I had to say that. So I'm gonna be with you here. I'll take Kennesaw to win, but Missouri State to cover because it will be a one-score game. And the reality too here has been in one-score games, Missouri State has been damn good in them. So they absolutely have a chance here to go on the road and steal one from the Owls.
By the way, they're 4-1 on the road. That's just
Beard,
throwing it out there.
man.
It doesn't phase them. It doesn't phase them. I mean, their only loss on the road was to USC the first week of the season. They've won every other game on the road so far this season.
It's also because they
Love to see
hosted
that.
SMU. It's just awesome.
Well,
that was a
that
close
is
game
true.
too. That was a close game for a while.
Yeah, it was 14-10 at halftime. It wasn't until like the third quarter touchdown, and fourth quarter touchdown, and a scoreless second half for Missouri State and 3 Jacob Clark picks. That kind of puts you out of that one. But yeah, I'm juiced for this game. I'm anticipating the star players being star players. I hope Jacob Clark shows up and shows out. I hope this defense gets after him for Kennesaw State, and hope Gabriel Benyard does his thing. And I'm really excited about this one.